Okay, good evening. I'd like to call this recessed meeting back in order once again. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. At this time, it's time for the invocation by Dr. Connect and Ms. Fletch.
Let us pray. God, thank you for the many blessings that you bestow upon us each and every day. May we have your guidance as we deliberate today, and may we do the work that is pleasing unto you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd just like to remind everybody that because this is a recessed meeting, we're going to just go right back into old business on the settlement agreement with Duke Energy for the coal ash storage on Colon Road. Before I turn it over to our attorney to lead us through that, I'd like to thank the board for being here. I got a call from Commissioner Smith a little bit before 5 o'clock. He is not going to be able to join us. I offered to arrange the phone setup so he could participate as he's done before, but he was not interested in doing that tonight. So we are the board here tonight, and again, thank you for being here and for the public. So I'll turn it over to council now. Thank you.
Based on the meeting on Monday and the board's directives, I corresponded with Duke's attorneys and we addressed each of the changes requested by the board. We'll start with paragraph 3, settlement payments. They did agree to provide any scale reports to Lee County. In paragraph 3C, we changed it from only Chatham County to any North Carolina municipality or county that contains a similar mine reclamation structural fill project. So if there is a better deal negotiated elsewhere for a similar type project as to what exists in Lee County, we would have the option to renegotiate our terms. And that obligation exists as long as site operations are ongoing. Once site operations have concluded, we would no longer be able to renegotiate the terms. In paragraph 5, site restrictions. They did agree that the site will be the only site used by Duke for purposes of coal ash storage in Lee County. Paragraph 7, we added not only sampling protocols, but testing protocols. And then if you turn to page 4, there was quite a discussion on baseline testing and split samples, and this occurred over 2 days. What they agreed to was to allow Lee County to test the coal ash at the site here in the county once per year at the same time that they are required to test the coal ash. It will be a split sample, which means that we would take the sample at the same time they take the sample. We would be responsible for the cost for Lee County to do that sampling. It would be testing for, it's called T-clip. It's testing for the heavy metals that could be present in coal ash. As far as baseline water sampling, they will do one-time baseline sampling in accordance with the sampling protocols they're required to follow, and that would be for any public or private water supply wells existing as of the date this agreement is signed and within a 1,000-foot radius of the site. Moving to paragraph 8, economic development. Make sure I'm on the right. For economic development, the assistance will last for the duration of the site operations, and they were agreeable to give priority to projects in the Colon Osgood community and the areas surrounding the site. in paragraph 9, release of claims as to Duke. They did agree that Chara and Green Meadows LLC are expressly not included in the release. In paragraph 11, the covenant not to sue, on the 5th line down, it begins with the word further. We changed the language to read that so long as there is so long as there is material compliance with the environmental laws, Lee County cannot provide comment or oppose any written permits, regardless of who those permits are sought by. And we cannot enact any local law, rule, regulation, or ordinance, or take any other action, whether against Duke or anyone. What that means is, if there is a violation of the environmental laws, which would be federal, state, regulatory, judicial action, judicial order, pretty much any law that would govern this, if there is a violation of the environmental laws, we can bring a lawsuit. And other than just formatting, which would be who the notices go to, some typos other than that, those were the changes agreed to. Those were the changes that were also requested by the board. There is one change that the board requested that Duke absolutely did not agree to, and that would be the provision about 80 years of a financial guarantee. And the reason for that is that beyond the 30 years required by the Coal Ash Management Act, if there would be a leak or some sort of problem with it, it would likely fall under federal law, under the CERCLA statute. So Duke would be responsible anyway. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Discussion.
I should add one more thing. There is a resolution at your place. Pursuant to the terms of the agreement, we're also required to pass a resolution.
Okay, you got a lot in front of you, and I appreciate the attorney's diligence in keeping us posted as things have changed over the last 2 days, and the county manager too, for all their hard work. I apologize, folks, as everybody kind of looks over their notes. Everybody okay? Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I would just like to make some comments to our citizens. I certainly want to thank you guys for all that you've done to try to help us with this issue of coal ash. It's been a long time coming. However, the Board of Commissioners was somewhat dealt this hand. Senator Berger, he is the person who is the primary signee on this Coal Ash Bill 729. And it was put into law by Governor McCrory and the Republican-driven legislation. However, brought this or made this happen or gave this bad deal to us or sent this bad deal to us. However, we had no input whatsoever to try to rid this thing in any form, fashion, or shape. And so we are trying to do the best we can with what we have. We had 3 options, and you were here when you heard those 3 options, and it was either do nothing and it's automatically coming. Either we try to get something out of it because we know it's coming, or either we try to fight. And here again, we don't want to try to fight something with the taxpayers' dollars
and we don't know what kind of money we're talking about. So I felt to say this tonight because we don't want you to think that we're not with you guys in trying to get this stuff away or not take this coal ash. In saying all that, I would like to move to approve the settlement release agreement with Duke Energy Progress and Duke Energy Carolinas LLC. And the resolution.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, discussion.
Yes, please. I would like for us also to look at any other open mines that we have around, because this one was open for a very long time and was never forced to be reclamated to begin with. I hope, maybe we can, Christina, look at any other ones that are open and make sure we get those closed. And this is gonna change our landscape for a long time to come here in Sanford. Things have moved awfully quickly, which makes me very, very uncomfortable. We never heard from the city, and the city said they haven't talked with Duke, but I've heard mention Duke has offered to help the city with this $500,000 for the Sportsplex possibility and streetscape, put the lights underground. So there's some things, and I would love to have a public hearing on this so people can have more discussion on this, and so we can be. But I don't want to disregard the fact of this is a hard decision for all of us, and we've all been working very hard at it, and definitely appreciate our staff's time. Thank you. Yes.
To answer your first part, Andre, I think in paragraph 5, that addresses your issue about the other clay pits, hopefully.
Well, that's a county thing. I don't think that's a Duke thing. What I'm saying is if we have other companies can, but they should be closed and reclamated if they've been open for a certain period of time. And if some place is closed, this has been closed for a long time and it's still stayed open. So DNR hasn't forced anybody to close. If you're done with business, close up, fix up, move out. This has been open for a long time, and I think that's another reason why we're here where we are. So it's not this one we're talking about in terms of they can't build in other sites, but other companies may, right? That's a possibility. So
We'll do something on another site. I understand.
Would that come under private ownership?
well, I don't know if once you stop doing business, there's an X amount of time that you have to get a reclamation done by, and I don't know, but if the statute says 2 years and DNR has been allowing it to go on 4, 5, 6, 7 years, we should ask them to step in and tell those other areas, close those permits or clean up.
When we met with DNR, there was a similar question that was asked, and as long as the company or the individual, whoever owns the mining permit, as long as they meet the minimum issues that were within it, and they keep their reclamation plan updated, they can keep the hole open for as long as they want. So that comes back to a state issue and one that the county cannot regulate.
Thank you.
I'm just curious about, I've heard what Sanford's getting more than one time since this issue's been on the table. I'm not clear what this board has to do with what Sanford does.
Well, we're
Have
going
you-
to.
Have you spoken with anybody on the council about your concerns?
Well, I have spoken to some people about this.
Any council member?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, nothing is obviously official yet, but we are about to burden the city with something as well in terms of water treatment. I don't know if they're okay with that burden or not okay with that burden, or happy with that burden.
We're not burdening them with that. That is their own decision whether they want to treat that leachate or not. It's not the county's decision. Well, then we're under no obligation in any way, shape, or form to help Duke, Char, or anybody find home for that leachate.
I'm just struggling to understand why suddenly you're concerned with Sanford. I mean, they've got their own situation.
Just a concern,
Acres.
a concern.
All right.
I'd like to pick up on what he said about the public hearings. I'd like to see more public hearings. But they should have been originated in Raleigh, where this originated from, and sent down here to us.
The animals can't walk the road and be safe.
The one thing we hear so much talk about is Duke, but we've not heard anyone say anything about the legislature. And that's where it originated from. So we are still, going through that ordeal.
No, I mean, the discussion is, we are back in the corner. You take the legislature off the hook by agreement. And I say, well, they agreed to it, so they take us off the hook. I'm just asking, I'm not saying that's the case.
They are the ones who pushed it down our throats.
Yeah.
And we had no.
You don't have to swallow it.
Yeah, well, you have to
Or you
swallow it.
swallow it, yeah.
There's no choice. I don't think that it's a matter of whether they was very adamant about in the meetings, they was very adamant about either we don't have to give you anything, you're gonna have to take it anyway. So it wasn't whether or not you swallow it.
Which meeting was that?
The meeting that we had. You're either gonna take it or
Which meeting we're discussing?
that's the
That we
Thursday
had here?
meeting.
Oh,
Thursday
Thursday
meeting.
meeting. I don't know if, I wasn't at the Thursday meeting, so I don't know how that discussion went, but.
Anything else?
I mean, I'm gonna say this, I'm honestly frustrated with the situation. I'm looking long-term, praying for the best from an economic development standpoint. I've read several emails talking about how poor this county is and about it being shoved down our throat. And I've been here for 52 years. My family's been here for 5 to 6 generations. And obviously, I don't know what poor is. And that being said, the one business in the state of North Carolina from an economic development standpoint that can really help this county if they truly partner with Lee County and with the Sanford Area Growth Alliance is Duke Energy, whether you like it or not. And I've read email after email where you would think that Tim Sloan was the person in Raleigh that made this decision, and that's not true. I ran for election for this county to try to better this county. And nothing against the people that are here. I have the utmost respect for you, and I thank you for what you've done. And I asked myself, would I be concerned about this if I wasn't county commissioner? And the answer is yes. I don't want the water contaminated. But at the same time, we have to trust that technology is beneficial and that it will work and that we move this county forward and this state forward. My father told me years ago, you can't stand in the way of progress. And whether we like it or not, this is deemed progress by the Senate and the House of Representatives. And it's not our choice, but we have to deal with it. And I'm voting to deal with it the best way that I know how and the fastest way I know how. And so all I can ask is that you respect myself and the board for the decisions that we make, right, wrong, otherwise.
Gonna bury the animals out there and let me dig holes for the
Mr.
animals.
Cotcamp,
It's the truth, bud.
Mr. Cotcamp, no public comments tonight, please. Okay.
What about a public hearing?
Again, we have a motion on the floor. I just want to echo what the other commissioners have said. To address some of the comments that we are moving too fast on this. those of us sitting up here tonight have been dealing with this since the middle of November. And I can say that I am very proud of everybody up here and our staff. This is our home. And when we ran for this job, nobody saw this coming. And we had absolutely no control over it. It was forced upon us. We have turned over every stone. We have done our research. We have sought out objective scientists and experts, and we have had excellent legal counsel with an environmental law firm. We have done our very best with what we have been dealt with. And I have to make a decision as to what I think is the very best for the citizens in this county. And if this were in my backyard, I would have the same conclusion that I have tonight. And if you don't believe anything else I say, believe that.
Nope.
So call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those in favor say no.
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 No,
No.
no, the county commissioner shall resign.
Okay.
No,
If there's any further items or discussion or comments by the board,
If it was working,
Make a
they'd keep
motion
it where it
to
already
adjourn.
is.
motion to
Why
adjourn.
drag it
adjourn.
across 13
All
counties?
those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.